On this edition of Freedom Journal Iraq, we'll see an air assault mission against al-Qaeda in Iraq and see how coalition forces assist Iraqi National Police. Don't miss these stories and more on today's FJI. Hello, I'm Air Force Sergeant Greg Bluthman. Welcome to this edition of Freedom Journal Iraq. American soldiers continue to train and instruct Iraqi security forces while conducting operations against criminal threats. Air Force Sergeant Kevin Nichols addresses some of the challenges U.S. and Iraqi forces face, as well as what lies ahead.
During a raid in Sadr City this week, some Iraqi security forces abandoned their position, leaving a crucial stretch of road undefended for hours. Despite these challenges, Multinational Force Iraq spokesman Major General Kevin Bergner says that the Iraqi security force is a more capable one now than this time a year ago.
So while we continue to have very tough days, as we did yesterday, and very tough weeks, as we have for the last 3 weeks or so, we continue to see improving capability and improving commitment, and that's encouraging.
Major General Bergner also mentioned that their main focus right now is to go after criminal militias that are responsible for the rocket and mortar attacks that have killed Iraqi citizens and coalition forces inside the international zone. Air Force Sergeant Kevin Nichols, Baghdad.
The relationship between coalition forces and the Iraqi police continues to blossom, and sometimes in unusual places, like the western desert of the Saladin province. That's where they recently took part in an air assault mission against al-Qaeda in Iraq. Air Force Sergeant Lee Bellinger joined the mission and has the story.
All the planning and pre-combat checks done, soldiers and police now lounge around or take a smoke break as they await the start of a joint air assault mission targeting a terrorist camp.
I know my guys are up to the challenge. They've been working their butts off and getting ready for the last week, practicing, doing their PCCs, PCIs, and doing everything they can to make sure Murphy doesn't bite us in the butt.
With that, the troops load up for the short flight into the western desert. Final destination, an al-Qaeda in Iraq camp. El Mushra village is a small yet sprawling and abandoned village that's being used as a safe haven by AQI. But that status is about to change to unsafe. The first group in sets up a blocking position on one end of the village. The main group goes to the other end and starts the push, clearing the abandoned homes one by one.
They squirted out right to our blocking positions. We were able to engage. They had weapons with them.
And they trained those weapons on the helicopters overhead. What ensued was a short engagement that left a handful of dead and wounded AQI members scattered across the battlefield. They left behind an arsenal that included multiple weapons, hand grenades, mortar rounds, and more.
Definitely a successful mission. Looks like potentially 3 to 5 UE killed and a couple of detainees right now.
So the soldiers and police depart like they arrived, leaving behind another village cleared of al-Qaeda in Iraq. Air Force Sergeant Lee Bellinger, El Mushra Village, Iraq.
4 coalition troops were also wounded during the operation. Coming up, a military transition team provides assistance to Iraqi National Police.
Here's your raid report. Iraqi Army soldiers uncovered a weapons cache during a patrol in Baghdad. A tip from a local resident led the soldiers to the cache in the trunk of a car. Coalition forces targeted a senior al-Qaeda in Iraq leader during a series of operations in Mosul. As they approached one target location, the ground force received small arms fire from enemy positions. The coalition forces engaged the terrorist, killing 1 and detaining 5. Sons of Iraq members led U.S. soldiers to a large weapons cache in a town east of Baghdad. The cache was buried approximately 500 meters from the town's police headquarters. Coalition forces detained 13 suspected terrorists during operations targeting al-Qaeda in Iraq networks in northern Iraq. One suspect is an alleged close associate of regional AQI leadership. And that's your raid report. I'm Seaman Aaron Hebner.
Here's your OIF weather forecast. Beginning in Baghdad, expect sunny to partly cloudy skies with a high of 93 and a low going down to 65. In the north, Mosul will see cloudy skies with a little sun, a high reaching 88 and lows dipping down to 56. And Basra can expect sunny to partly cloudy skies, a high climbing to 100 degrees and a low of 70. That's your OIF weather. I'm Airman First Class Jacqueline Gonzalez.
Here are the latest Operation Iraqi Freedom headlines. An Iraqi military spokesman says top military and police commanders in Basra have been reassigned to Baghdad. The commanders were moved following recent operations in the southern city. U.S. forces in Muqtadiya province are working with Iraqi police to purge rogue elements from the force now that AQI has been mainly pushed out of Diyala province. Anbar Awakening leader Ahmad Abu Risha has rejected an amnesty offer from the alleged leader of al-Qaeda in Iraq. A recorded message reportedly from the AQI leader offered amnesty to anyone who leaves the Awakening Council. And Iraqi Prime Minister Nouri al-Maliki arrived at the European Union headquarters in Brussels to push for closer ties with the EU and NATO. And those are your headlines from around the region. I'm Air Force Sergeant Pachari Lutki.
Check it. What gets checked gets done.
Welcome back. The 511th Military Police Company is also a police transition team. Its job is to advise and assist Iraqi police in the Wasit province. But no day is the same for these MPs. Petty Officer Frank Andrews takes us on one of their patrols as the company interacts with the local community.
Echoes of announcements and prayers, the sounds of children playing, the day-to-day business of buying and selling in the local market. It's all part of the atmosphere of a Shiite neighborhood in the city of Al-Qut. But for a short time, the attention of the community shifts at sight of visitors, U.S. soldiers from the 511th Military Police Company. As word gets out that the Americans are back, more children and onlookers come out to visit.
Mister! What's up, buddy?
The community recognizes these soldiers from frequent visits, an ongoing relationship that Private First Class John Nolan says starts in the streets.
I enjoy doing this more than anything else, being out here playing with the kids. It's good to get connected to the community. I mean, it helps for the parents enjoy that we spend time with their kids, so it works from the bottom and spreads up. The better we treat the kids, the better the parents are, and it spreads through the community.
Just 2 weeks ago, this neighborhood was the site of heavy fighting as members of Jaish al-Mahdi, or JAM, a Shiite militia group, launched attacks against local police stations and Iraqi army patrols in the area. After a couple of days of fighting, the attack stopped due to response from the coalition. Now the troops from 511th walk these streets with another mission.
Yeah, it's like an outreach. We get to the kids, we gain their trust and confidence. But we have a bigger goal in mind, is to gain the trust of the local community as well as the kids. So they do feel free to come up and talk to us, give us information like IED locations, and more so who's making the IEDs and where from.
Despite the friendly interaction with the community, these MPs are always watching each other's backs because the enemy could appear at any moment from anywhere.
We always move no less than 3 or 4 guys with us, so I mean, if one guy's talking, the other 2 are always watching down the other end of the street. You can't get complacent. Even though I'm handing out candy, I'm constantly watching rooftops, and I know the guys behind me are always watching out my back. You have to trust your battle buddies that they're watching out for you.
Soon it's time for the 511th to go back the way they came, back to the local police station where they'll visit and hold training with Iraqi police. Petty Officer Frank Andrews, Al-Qut.
Police?
Yeah. Next time on Freedom Journal Iraq, we'll introduce you to Apache pilots who provide cover for ground troops. And that wraps up this edition of Freedom Journal Iraq. Be sure to log on to mnf-iraq.com, where you can learn all about the progress coalition forces are making throughout the country. If you have story ideas, we'd love to hear them. Just email us at fji@iraq.centcom.mil. From all of us here at AFN and Freedom Journal Iraq, thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time.